Wednesday, March 24th, town trustee meeting. Start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic
for which
it stands, one nation,
God,
under God, indivisible, with liberty
and justice for all.
Okay, will Secretary Treasurer Horowitz please call the roll?
Got it. President Schultz,
Here.
Secretary Treasurer Horowitz, I am obviously here. Ed J. Warner Jr.,
I am here.
William Pell IV,
Yeah.
and Ann Welker.
here.
Mr. President, we have a quorum.
Okay, great. So first item on the agenda is the discussion of Peconic Baykeeper request for mooring permit fee waiver permit number MP 19061. Anybody have
We
any
have done
comments
that.
on that?
We have done it in the past, so I don't see any problems with it.
Yeah, I agree with Trustee Pell. We have done this for them. They are a fantastic organization. They're doing great work, collaborating with the trustees, and I think it's appropriate to continue that waiver.
Yeah. I agree also, and I know they have asked to put their mooring in Red Creek Pond, which is right next to their establishment where they, have their little office there. So I think it's a wonderful thing. There's no longer a waiting list there, so I'm all for it. So let's move this on, and it's a good thing.
Very good.
for
So we'll
everybody.
move that to the meeting on Monday then, on the 5th. I
I'll
mean.
prepare a resolution. Thank you.
Thanks, Jess.
Is the baykeeper here? Did he want to say anything, or does he need to?
He just sent in a letter with his application, just requesting the fee waiver.
Okay. Nope, they've done
Okay.
great work.
Okay,
Okay, I'll put it on for Monday's meeting.
yeah,
Or-
put it on Monday's meeting.
So it's in 2 weeks, Monday. the 5th.
5th,
Yes.
the 5th. Yes.
Okay. Cool.
Okay,
Thanks, Jess.
Thank you.
Good. So the second item on is that's the proclamation presentation to Philip Luce, Eagle Scout project.
Do we have Mr. Luce here? Is he?
Is he on?
Is Philip here? Is Philip and Larry Luce on the meeting yet?
He's here. One
You
second.
want to can you let them in?
I let him in.
You let him in. So we have young Philip Luce, who is an Eagle Scout candidate. He's worked very, very hard, and we prepared a proclamation. As you are all aware, he got involved in doing a project to create an osprey hole and an osprey nest. And I think James has some pictures that he'd like to share with the public. Can you share those, James?
Yep.
There's one of the pictures of the day that they were working on this. And I think you have another one. And there's the almost finished product there of what he's done. I think it's a great project. I think he did a great job. He worked with many other different people in the community that he was able to collaborate with and bring together to, make such a great project like that a success. And it's generally customary for us to, and you could bring the screen back if you want, James, and bring it back. And we prepared a proclamation for you, Philip, because we're all very proud as trustees for your accomplishments and that you've thought so highly to involve us, which means you basically involved all the freeholders of the community, and you provided something that's going to be great for nature and the environment for everybody. I'd like to read the proclamation that's been signed by all of the trustees for you. It says, whereas
Here's the proclamation, right? Yeah. Go
you
ahead.
have it. Okay. I'll read it and then we'll get it to you at a later time. We got the COVID friendly proclamation presentation going on here. Whereas established by the Dong and Patent in 1686, the trustees of the freeholders and commonality of the town of Southampton constitute the oldest continually elected board in North America. And whereas the town of Southampton exists as one of the finest communities in the United States due to the efforts of its hardworking and conscientious citizens, and has an interest in recognizing those who have contributed to that excellence. And whereas the Suffolk County Boy Scouts Council is presenting Philip Luce with Eagle Scout Award for exemplary service to his community, Receipt of the Eagle Scout Award is the highest advancement in scouting received by only 2.5% of all Boy Scouts, and is a performance-based achievement requiring the fulfillment of a variety of demands, including the acquisition of leadership, service, and outdoor skills. And whereas Philip has long been a devoted member of Scouting, during this time he has assisted his troop in a multitude of ways, including holding multiple leadership positions. And whereas, having risen through the ranks with persistence and progress, Philip has earned many merit badges and contributed scores of volunteer hours to the completion of a service project that benefits his community. In doing so, he successfully planned, organized, and constructed an osprey nest in the wetland area at the end of Road K in Hampton Bays. Drawing on equipment and his work expertise from Hampton Watercraft and Marine, Philip sank a 20-foot pole 5 feet into the ground and then used 2x4s and galvanized wire to create a 4-square platform with 2 perches. And now therefore be it resolved that the trustees of the freeholders and commonalty of the town of Southampton are proud to join with family, friends, and Troop 483 of Hampton Bays in honoring Philip Luce on the occasion of his being presented with the prestigious Eagle Scout Award, and commends his dedication, service to the Boy Scouts and the community. He's a young man truly worthy of the day's honor, and we wish him the best of luck in all of his future endeavors. Philip, great job.
Thank you. Thank you.
Philip.
Great job.
Bravo, bravo.
Thank you.
Philip, we owe you a cake. Because usually we do cakes with
That's true.
proclamations. So good work, and we owe you a cake.
Thank you.
And I will get this to you at a time that is appropriate. But congratulations, great work, and really appreciate all that you've done, and very, very proud of you, Philip. Very proud.
Thank you.
Did you want to say anything, Philip, about ospreys or about putting up the nest or anything like that?
Like in terms of like why I did it, why I chose it, whatnot.
Sure, whatever you'd like to say.
Well, I originally wanted to build for my Eagle Scout project a jetty, and because I love the water, grew up on the water my whole life, and that ended up being a little far-fetched. So I chose the osprey nest because, again, it's involved with the bay that I grew up on and love. So
That's great.
seems like a great project.
Right.
You did great, Philip.
Thank you, Philip. And your dad.
Thank you.
And I look forward to getting that cake.
Well, Philip, I lost connectivity on my end of the computer over here, but I want to congratulate you. I'm a Eagle Scout also, and I know how long it takes to achieve all those merit badges, and thanks for a job well done.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, Philip, congratulations. I'm proud of you. You worked hard, achieved it. Now we just need the bird to nest on it so we can document it, and we'll have another, functioning osprey nest because, we take such good care of the environment and promote the ecosystem. The birds have come back in such great numbers. Now we have to furnish them their homes. So, Thank you so much for your effort, and your dad too, and everybody involved. It was it's first step in public service, which, the trustees are all about. So thank you again.
Thank you.
Good job.
You want to thank Tony? Or
Where's President Schultz?
You're gonna have to run the meeting for a couple of minutes.
Okay, I got it.
Thank you, Philip. Thank you, Mr. Luce. Have a good afternoon. We'll get the proclamation to
Get
you.
it to you. I'll call you later
And the
on.
cake.
Yeah. Call you later on.
all right. Thank you, folks.
You're welcome. Thank you. We have some waterfowl hunting location permit application.
What? Oh, sorry, Scott. There's just one thing that got slipped on. Dr. 2B Andrew Lundstrom, Charles, should be in the waiting room. This is the discussion regarding the buoys at Lake Agawam and Sag Pond. There was a bit of confusion, so
it's an afterthought on the work session. Add on.
Not an afterthought. It's a extremely important discussion.
Okay.
Okay, he's
Dr.
on his way.
That's great. So this is Dr. Christopher Gobler's research assistant. And correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Lindstrom. Is that the proper title, research assistant? Okay, cool. Speaking about the buoys that have previously been installed in Lake Agawam and Sag Pond, and you're wishing to do that again. So if you just want to give us a quick run through, that would be spectacular.
Yeah, so both for Lake Agawam and for Sag Pond, we have it's a YSI EXO is the sonde, and then on that we have sensors that will measure temperature, conductivity, the salinity, dissolved oxygen, chlorophyll, as well as pH and nitrate. And those will be taking measurements about every 10 minutes. And then at the end of the year, all that data will be compiled and then be submitted. So in Lake Agawam, it would be going in the northern part of the lake, and then in Sag Pond, it's in the southwest. And those are just the two ideal spots that we would have selected for those buoys. And in the past, so for the Lake Agawam and both the Sag Pond, they're just low profile, so not really easily seen, not like eyesores.
When do you anticipate putting them in?
So we would be anticipating putting them in May, and then they would stay out through the fall.
Okay, great. So they'll come out before it ices then.
Yeah.
And my one other question is, how is this data accessible? Both the Lake Agawam buoy and the Sag Pond buoy, because are they both accessible on the Gobler Lab site, or is one on Lake Agawam Conservancy? Can you expand on that a little bit?
I know the Lake Agawam one is available on the Lake Agawam's website, the Conservancy website. I don't remember if that one is also accessible on the Gobler Lab, but Sag Pond is available.
Okay. And is that data then on Dr. Gobler's website or the Gobler Lab website accessible to the public, or it is? Okay.
So every 10 minutes it makes the reading, and then you could look at it in increments of, I believe it's 50 data points at a time, but you could change the way that you see it.
Okay.
And then you could also look at it different parameters at a time.
Great. So temperature, salinity, the one in SAG is the one I'm specifically inquiring about. Does that measure an indicator for harmful algal blooms?
Yes, so both of them, they're going to be doing the chlorophyll sensor. It looks at the blue-green algae, so it could definitely, it'll help us see when an algal bloom will be happening.
Great. Okay, that's wonderful. And Sean, I believe that because we've permitted these both these buoys in the past, we have everything in line as far as the legal end of things. Have you had a chance to look at that? The university is self-insured, and there is a hold harmless also associated with these documents, I believe, with these buoys.
Yeah, we have a certificate of insurance. They can update with us, certainly. And we have had them execute hold harmless agreements in the past. This is just a letter of permission. So it's not a big deal. They can update their insurance document and update the hold harmless. We already have everything on file. Should not be legally an issue.
Great. Okay, that's wonderful. So we just need to issue a letter of permission. Okay.
I have to leave in.
All right, great. I think unless anyone has any questions.
No, I'm good with it, Ann. Something we did in the past, and it will give us some a baseline for each one of the ponds.
Right, and especially this year, since Sag Pond has been open most of the winter, I hope you'll have some good data and that we'll have a healthy season with that going forward. All right, so we will work on getting the letter of permission to you then, Andrew.
Thank you. Have a good day. Thank you.
Okay, you too. Take care.
Thank you.
Let me interrupt for a second. Hey, Charles, I'm having a problem with this iPad in the office here. I can't get on at all. I'm in.
Hang on a second.
Thank you, Andrew.
Yeah, I don't.
All right, I'm gonna jump off now, go to my appointment, and I will come
Okay.
back as soon as I'm done, all right?
Okay,
See you later.
cool. Thanks, Ed.
Bye.
Take your time.
I got you, Ed. Eric, sorry.
You,
Okay, Eric, you're getting back on
I
here.
show it's being connected here.
I got you.
Great.
Wait a minute.
Thanks, Charles.
Yeah.
Start video.
There you go, Eric.
Okay. Okay, as we walk through the office, as we're zooming through the office here. Okay. All right. So we have the waterfowl hunting location permit application determination. Jessica is on that.
Yeah.
Jessica gonna discuss that?
So
I think she's muted.
am I muted? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, wait a minute.
I hear you.
No, I had it. Wait a minute.
Whenever you're ready.
Had it turned down when I was in Lisa's office. Okay, go ahead.
Okay.
First one was for me, Christopher Rock.
Christopher Ott, permit number 24. You guys held this one last work session, and I have still not heard from this gentleman.
Okay,
How many blinds does he have?
Let me see. I have to pull it up. Just give me a moment.
I think he,
Just the one.
okay.
all right, then if you haven't got any response, then we move it forward for denial then.
Okay.
Okay. Revocation.
Okay.
Next,
The next one is in Trustee Pell's area, Timothy Lopez, permit number 209. I also have not received, and this also goes for Ann's area for his two permits, 209 and 200. I haven't received anything from him.
I called him and like four different times and left messages and got no response. So
okay,
I think we move it forward for denial on mine.
Okay. And Ethan King, permit number 244. He actually called during the meeting last time, and I called him back afterwards. He said he was going to send in an email or a letter, and he never did.
I'll call him later and find out. Maybe his email did not go through.
What would you like me to do with this one?
Just hold that one over.
Hold that one.
Yeah.
Okay, and then for the Timothy Lopez permit 200 in Trustee Welker's area, what would you like to do?
and
Yeah, I know. You tried 4 times, Bill?
Yes, left 4 different messages regarding his duck blind, and he never answered me.
So I guess we move to deny this as well.
Yep.
That's
Okay.
unfortunate.
yeah,
Okay, so the only one that's being held is Ethan King, and we'll discuss that next work session. The other 3 I will prepare a resolution for the next meeting.
okay,
Thanks,
good.
Jess.
One.
thank you, Jessica.
okay. All right, so we move on to general permit applications for determination. First one on the agenda is John Keough, 29 Fisk Avenue, Village of West Hampton Beach. And it is for a dock that is 125 feet in length. This has been discussed before a little bit. If you want to bring up the bathymetric detail on that. Okay, is the applicant's consultant here?
Yes.
Okay, want to let them in? Okay.
Afternoon, everyone.
Aye.
Hello, Lisa.
Lisa Poyer with Inner Science on behalf of the applicant.
Okay, so at 125 feet, they reach a depth of 1.9 to 2 feet of water at 125 feet. At this point in Mauritius Bay, the pier line is 100 foot.
Okay.
So a permit was, the only other permit in the area was issued to an entity called Onek Tove, which is at the end of Onek Lane. That was in 2003. It's an 84 foot long catwalk, and that reached 2.4 feet of water. Back around that same time, we had some applications in along Onek Lane. Consequently, a bar formed, and we had a public hearing on it, and we increased the pier line to the east from Onek Lane to Onek Drain to 125 foot. First of all, so the dock is 25 feet over. It doesn't meet the regular standards of 100 foot. I mean, 2.5 feet of water.
That's fine. So I listened to the past work session, and I was waiting for any comments that I believe at the end of the work session you said you're going to send comments, and that's fine. So we can, if we move it back to 100 feet and just leave it as a fixed pier catwalk. And I know at the work session last time you had discussed allowing potentially a boat lift on the end. Is that still something that the board would consider approving if we modified the plans to show the boat lift with a 100-foot long dock with no L at the end?
Well, the problem is that you have in the blue book, it says that it has to reach 2.5 feet of water. If it doesn't reach that, 100 foot is the maximum. If it doesn't reach that in a considerable, if any appreciable depth is not increased there, then the smaller dock would prevail, a much smaller dock. You have, even at like 50 foot, you have 1.6 feet, and it goes out to 2.0. So you're like 6 inches, you put another almost 50 to 75 feet out, and you're only going to gain 6 inches of water. It's kind of excessive. What, did anybody else have any comments? Ed knows the area pretty well too. So a lot of sand is built up over there. The only way that you could get to 2.4 is by putting in almost a 200-foot long dock. So a dock with a float or something like that is not going to fly. I would suggest to no more than 80 foot that's consistent with the other dock that we allowed, and some sort of a boat lift or something like that. Well, how does everybody else feel about it?
My question is, how wide is the property? Because I can't tell from the bathymetric survey. Is it any deeper on the west side?
It's all pretty even.
Pretty much
the same. Okay.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
I think James can move it over a little bit. You do have got 2 feet of water right at the other. Well, it starts deepening out on the next property over.
Okay.
I'd be hesitant to allow for anything that was longer than what is existing at the property to the
West.
east. But now that was originally a large house, and we allowed that dock. It is now, the house has been demolished and it's been split up into 4 different lots. So I anticipate another dock probably coming in between that, between you and the easterly dock coming in there. So we have to account for that. It's roughly the same dimensions of water. I'd like to try to keep it, in that line at least.
Okay, so my main question is, could we propose to do a boat lift for the owner's interested in doing 2 jet skis on the property? They have the jet ski type lifts that lift the ski entirely out of the water, and that they're fixed only to the dock. Is that
Right.
something that we could propose and you would entertain?
Oh, to fix that to that dock instead of the bulkhead?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, I wouldn't have a problem with that because we do allow for boat lifts in Mauritius Bay.
Okay. So let me come back with the revised plan. I may try and shift it.
Well, let's get the opinions of the rest of the board.
Okay.
How is everybody on that?
That's fine. I didn't realize it was going to be used for jet skis because I was just concerned about the depth of the water if there was a boat lift. But if it's for jet skis, that's fine.
Mhm. Okay.
What kind of lift are you gonna have? Are you gonna swing it onto the dock or it's gonna be just hanging in the midair?
I think we're trying to look at, I don't know if I can share my screen.
Well, those elevator docks.
Yeah, those angled ones that just kind of drop into the water.
Right.
Because we don't want to put our ISO out there for the neighbors either.
Okay.
Right.
So let me put together a revised set of materials and I'll resubmit it back to the board.
Okay.
Do you want to share your screen?
I was trying
Lisa?
to.
Because I think Charles,
Oh, there it goes.
because you have a picture of the jet ski float,
Oh,
of the lift.
This is an example that I just found online, but it's this style of
Okay.
where
Yes,
it's
yes.
that one. And then there's,
They would take much less of a beating out there. Actually, you could bring them in a little bit closer also.
but it goes into the water just enough to lower the jet ski down, but it doesn't physically touch the bottom, but it does allow 2 jet skis to be, used. Raised and
lowered.
Right. And it is affixed to the dock.
Well,
You
here's the
have-
question.
How much water does it need?
I don't know. I'd have to find out what the jet skis draw.
Yeah.
The question I have is that then if it is only going to be used for jet skis, does he really even need, do you need 80 something feet? Why would we put something out 80 feet for 2 little jet skis?
Well, let me see what the water depth is necessary for the jet skis.
Okay.
And I'll try and come back to the board with a different design.
Okay, tell you what you do. Create an email track with me and then we'll discuss it by email, okay?
Okay. With the
Email
board,
it down?
I'm fairly certain that the lifts do require some larger pilings or the 2 pilings on either side of the lift mount. Is that something that the board would entertain as far as allowing a larger diameter piling?
No, you need that. That's realized.
Okay,
Okay.
so I'll come back to the board.
Thanks, Lisa.
Great, thank you. Have a good afternoon.
You
Okay,
too.
bye.
Thanks, Lisa.
Thanks. Okay, Mr. Horowitz is up.
I have Shinbone Bay LLC, 48 Shinnecock Road, Village of Quad, InterScience. Who's going to be representing from InterScience? Is Mr. Walker here?
Yes.
Great. Okay, so we got a proposed in-place and in-kind replacement of 302 linear feet of bulkheading, including 20 linear foot return at the south property line. Proposed in-place and in-kind replacement of 4 times 55 low profile fixed pier catwalk. Proposed in-place and in-kind replacement of existing wood walk, landward of existing bulkhead, all decking, through flow or equivalent, all construction to be completed using untreated materials. Mr. Walker.
Gotta unmute.
Is he there?
Yeah, he's here. Gotta
Okay.
unmute.
Go ahead, Carl.
Okay, you ready?
Yes, sir. How are you? Nice to see you.
Scott, I sent this project in a schematic manner, and I was hoping to get some input on terms of construction because typically the state and the town would be interested in how the thing's going to be built. And I sent it into the DEC and I got a review right away, and they told me to submit a whole bunch of more stuff. So essentially the Board of Trustees are kind of ahead of the DEC, and I don't want to I don't want to make the impression that I know exactly what we're going to do there. So what it amounts to is we have an existing seawall with a return. This is the area going south from the little boat slip. We have a bulkhead on the north side going to the adjoining property line. Then we have a little boat slip that needs to be maintenance dredge. And we have an existing, what the state is calling an existing walk over a jetty style wave break. And to tell you the truth, that's a dock. So I'm not certain of how this thing is going to be permitted at the end. And I want to ask the trustees to consider a couple things. Going south, it's a seawall. The seawall behind it has wetlands. These wetlands were originally mapped by JMO Consulting, which you guys are familiar with. And Glenn just flagged wetlands there, and the wetlands line has been confirmed since by the state for a new house that's being built there. When we build a new seawall, we can build it in place, and we can remove the old seawall. There aren't any facing piles on that seawall. Typically, what I would expect is the state would have told me whether they would like to see screw-in piles there or something other in terms of a tieback system. But since I don't have anything from the state, I'm going to guess that we should have screw-in helical piles there. That's what we've done in other instances where there were wetlands behind the seawall. So I would intend to ask the town, is that something that you think you would like to see? The rest of the project, the bulkhead project, is very similar. We got a bulkhead, we have wetlands behind the bulkhead. Typically the state would have something to say about how we make a drag pile system. So my gut reaction is the state didn't give me any insight at all. So again, I would probably guess that we're going to install helical piles there and not disturb the area behind the bulkhead because it's wetlands. And Scott, the town can intercede at any point and give me your thoughts. But
well, my thoughts are the least amount of disruption to the wetland and the 100% compliance to Blue Book regulation is, you know, obviously what we're looking for. Right. So, you know, if we could achieve that and check all the boxes to all the regulatory authorities, I think that's what we're aiming to do.
Okay, so Scott, in that regard, the easiest way to rebuild the seawall and the bulkhead is to install helical piles. And then we don't have to worry about a drag pile system and we don't tear up the whole thing. So the town is expecting helical piles.
What are they, what's the dimension on those? Diameter. The diameter.
I don't know, Eric, but I'll get you that information and we'll give it to you for the next meeting. I'm not looking for a permit today. I'm really hoping to get feedback from the state, which I didn't get. So I'm asking the town for feedback. Scott's saying tear up the property the least amount possible. The least amount possible is put helical piles into the grade.
As long as you're gonna be, you know, certifying the structural integrity, and you're gonna check all those boxes. I'm not opposed to that if that is what you believe the state's gonna want to see from you. I'm not opposed to that. I don't know what the other board members feel, but I'd like to see the least.
You don't want anything that's not going to work, and then a first big surge comes along, and we end up cleaning it up all over the bay.
Right.
So Eric, if we have to, we'll get an engineer to provide construction drawings. I'm not really concerned about that. I was really kind of concerned about the basics here. I have wetlands behind a bulkhead. The bulkhead is pretty high. It's about 4.5 feet. And then the grade drops down and it connects to a low area that comes along the north property line. So we have real wetlands issues here. And Matt Pensky did the review at the DEC and he didn't come up with anything except provide more precise plans. So we gave him precise plans. Notwithstanding that, we can come back with helical piles and we can propose that. That's fine. We also have wood walks around the boat slip. And the first wood walk is the one that goes out into the water. And typically we do not propose to rebuild docks at a 3-foot width. It's too narrow and people are gonna load up into a boat and walk out on that boat. Typically we show 4 feet, but I got a bunch of noise from the DEC in that regard. So right now, the little walkway over the water, over the little timber jetty is 3 foot wide. And we can leave that alone for now, that's fine. The other thing that I want some input from the Board of Trustees on is we show, excuse me, a timber walk around the boat slip, and it has wood decking. The wood decking is there. We would be replacing wood decking, and I need to know and need to advise the property owner whether he can use something like IPay decking there around the bulkhead. And that's really the only issues that I have.
That's, as long as it's a non-treated, you can't, no treatment.
Okay.
You need it to get on the boat. No sense having a boat.
Just don't treat it. Just don't have them out there putting any type of a chemical, preserver on any of that. Obviously, we don't want to see chemicals near the wetland. But if they're going to use that as their choice of wood for, integrity, it's non-treated.
Hey, Jim, how much wave energy and fetch does this bulkhead withstand?
It doesn't face south. It doesn't face the southwest. I would say it gets pounded more by northeasters when there's a southeasterly wind, but it's kind of out of the way. There's in Penamine Creek, there's kind of a shoal that goes across and protects this property.
So in light of that, and in light of the fact that there are wetlands landward of the bulkhead, is this a good situation for a low sill bulkhead rather than a 4.5 foot high bulkhead?
A good point, because we're going to be discussing another project, similar.
Absolutely not. I got to tell you, that would be a disaster. I'll tell you why, Ann. It's probably a well-intended idea, but we have a bulkhead. The top of the elevation is like 4 or 5. The property falls away from the bulkhead down into a wetlands that's regulated by the DEC. And if you put a low sill bulkhead in there, you're going to get tides over top the bulkhead all the time, and that property is going to flood. And the low area goes all the way to the street. So you're going to have water going all the way to the street. And I think it would be irresponsible of me to even contemplate something like that. In other areas where we've used low sill bulkheads, they've been a big success. They've protected properties, they've protected the shorelines, they allow the wetlands to grow. But I don't believe that this is one of those instances in any way, shape, or form. And possibly the Board of Trustees should drop down and say hello to Jeffrey Lynn's contractors, because they're building a house there like 100 miles an hour. But I think in this particular instance, we probably should pull out the old CCA. We should install a new vinyl sheet piling bulkhead, and we should use helical piles to tie it into the grade. And if anything, Ann, I think probably it would be better if it was a foot higher.
Wow.
I have not received any real review from the state. So some of these issues are really not clear to me yet, but I would say that we replace in place the bulkhead, the seawall, the boat slip, the wave break, the whole thing should be replaced in place. We don't really call it in kind because it's a vinyl sheet piling bulkhead instead of a CCA timber bulkhead. But I think we can do all those things and protect the areas that are wet behind the bulkhead without changing much of the use of the property.
I guess I'm inquiring because I'm also concerned with the height of that bulkhead with the property to the south, Jim, that has no bulkhead at all. It almost is more like a living shoreline or a rock revetment.
Well, we have a return and along the property line. The return is there. We're replacing a return that's already there. And really, I don't think that we want to change the whole shoreline at this particular piece of property. I think it would be a terrible invitation for flooding all the way to the street. For
James,
this.
Okay.
put up the pictures.
Yeah. Yep. Hang on. I just lost it.
This piece of property appears to be connected across the golf course to the west, a low swale, and there's no culvert pipe anymore, and there's no active connection, but the low elevations are still there, and the wetlands areas are regulated by the state. And part of the proposal that we have into the state is to remove the Phragmites and plant native species in that low area. So we're proposing to upgrade the natural attributes of the property in any case. And I would not really be comfortable changing the bulkheads or the seawalls out very much. And the guy has a little boat slip. It's kind of nice. He's not going to be able to keep a very big boat there because the water's shallow. But
Let's adjoining property where the turn is.
Say that again.
Let's see the adjoining property where the return is. Does that show on any of the photos, the return? The actual return, just right now?
I'm not sure.
The property to the south, Jim, did you take a picture of that? It's pretty wooded, Eric, or pretty vegetated from what I can see just from GIS.
The return is at the south property line, and if you walk down in the wetlands along the existing seawall, the seawall turns to the right, and we're proposing the same length of return as currently exists. And basically, and what you have behind it is Spartina patens and groundsel bush. It's a cute little wetlands area. It's kind of weird because the property drops down from the bulkhead going to the north.
Well, let's see the picture that you submitted of that return. Which picture is it on there?
I have no idea if I submitted a picture of a return or not. If you want, I will go get one.
Yeah, we're not advancing this today, so you could, if you want to provide more, obviously documentation.
Well, I think that you have to set, show the pictures of all of the existing condition. There's about 15 pictures there. Nothing shows that the adjoining property and the return.
Right, so
he's
got to get us some more information because obviously it's the start of the conversation. So,
okay,
we can get that, Jim, right?
Yeah. I'll gladly provide you a photograph of the return. To tell you the truth, I probably didn't take a picture of it because it wasn't very exciting.
All right, well,
but I will, and I'll provide it to the board. I'm probably going to come back to the board with helical piles. If the property needs to be engineered, we'll send it to Steve Maresca or somebody and get the engineering done. I'm really trying to piece together what's needed for this property. There are intact wetlands forward of the bulkhead as well. Those are intertidal marsh. The wetlands behind the bulkhead are high marsh wetlands, and it's also includes a whole bunch of Phragmites that we're proposing to replace with native wetlands, shrubs, grasses, and related plant materials.
When do you think you'll be ready? Next work session, you need a month, you need 2 months. How much time you think you need?
If you give me a month, I'll perform. We would ask you to put it back on for work session in a month. I missed the last work session because I was out doing field work. So I'm glad that trustees were able to put it on for this month. If you give me another month, I will try to come to terms with Matt Penske at the DEC. He's somebody that I know pretty well, and he's been there a very long time, but so far he has simply told me to provide more details, which I did.
All right.
So
I think that's fine.
we'll return back to you in a month.
So Wednesday, April 28th, work session?
That sound good?
We'll have more detailed plans, and I'll have a picture of the return.
Okay.
Great. Jim, thanks for your help earlier today too. We really appreciate it.
Okay, all right. Thanks
We'll
a
be in
lot.
touch.
Great day, Jim.
Okay.
Is Jeffrey Patanjo here? I have Kevin and Jennifer Schmidt, 15 Marlin Road in East Quogue. This was an application that we had on a prior work session. The application that I have was just showing remove and replace 75 linear feet of existing bulkhead with new vinyl in the same location as existing, but we needed more information relative to elevation and the decking behind it. And we should have an amended cover sheet here.
Yeah, this is the amended one. Hold on, let me pull it up here first. Hold on.
Is the agent here?
Scott, can you hear me? I'm back on.
Hello there, Mr. Warner.
Hi, Ed.
Hello.
Okay, so now we're going to remove and replace 75 linear feet of existing bulkhead with new vinyl in the same location as existing and raised height of 8 inches above existing top cap, removing existing landward boardwalk and replace with new 4-foot wide Ipe boardwalk parallel to the proposed bulkhead, 10 cubic yards of clean sand fill from upland sources landward of proposed boardwalk, and plant 6-foot wide non-turf buffer with native non-fertilizer dependent vegetation. All the timer, I guess he means all the timber used shall be untreated green heart. Is Jeff here?
Charles, is there any sign of Jeff? Pantanjo?
Mr. Patanjo,
Looking for him.
raising his hand, jumping up and down.
I don't see him.
Okay.
Could it be someone else? No, I don't see him. All right.
James,
Yeah.
put some pictures up, show the board.
Yes, sir. Hold on.
Typical waterfront in that community, Scott.
Yeah, it is typical, and the adjoining properties are slightly elevated. So if you look in the pictures, you're going to see that he's going to be just matching the people next door to him. So, and that's what he's got. He's basically now put everything on the application, replacing pretty much what's there.
And installing a buffer rather than the lawn right to the
Right.
bulk,
So,
right
and
to
we're
the
getting
walk.
buffer. Right, we're getting buffer out of it as well. So it's meets Blue Book to my knowledge. James,
Yeah. Yep.
you concur?
Yeah, he changed everything that we asked for last work session. So
Right. So I mean, this one's okay to move. If the board's pleased with that.
I'm good with it, Scott.
Good. Eric,
Oh, yes, yes.
Billy?
Thank you for a second.
Trustee Pell,
I'm fine. I was on mute.
Ann,
Yes,
got your buffer. All right,
trying
so
to advance it.
let's advance it.
okay.
Move to land use ecological. The agent for the applicant, Audrey Weinberg, at 27A Bay Road in the village of Quogue. This is a modification. I don't know if James, if you have I have the modification. If you have the original permit, so the board has that information. Or the original application, I should say.
This is the original permit.
Okay.
So what they're asking for is a extension to the catwalk to go out farther, because I guess they made a mistake on the depth of water. And when they went to install the floating dock, they didn't have enough water, so they're asking to go out farther.
How much?
Looking for 16 feet. They're looking to go 16 feet.
Okay, 2 8-foot sections, okay.
How far off the entrance to Stone Creek?
What's the
Well,
total,
this-
the total width is what, 200 and some odd feet?
Yeah, it's plenty wide enough.
Plenty wide, it's gonna meet all those tests.
Bring
Okay,
that,
so-
bring the aerial up again, James.
Yeah.
Is this the site with the new house is being constructed?
Correct. I
There
don't
you
know
go.
if you guys can hear me.
Oh, there you are. Hi. How you doing, Chuck?
Good. How are you today?
We're good. So this
Yeah,
isn't ready.
just to clear it up, actually the survey that we got with the depth soundings, I think Scott knows it drops off there, but it never showed the right place of the drop off. So that's why when Ron Barnish built what was approved, 55 feet of catwalk, but the float would have been sitting in 1.5 foot of water. So that's why we needed the 16 feet extra. And it is plenty wide there. It's not a problem. And yes, that is the new house, Eric.
Yes, okay, yeah, I was just down there the other day. Yep.
I mean, as long as it's all meeting Blue Book, I don't have any objection.
No,
What is the total length of the dock?
71 now. It was 55 of the fixed dock. The ramp and float are the same. We just extended the fixed docks 16 feet.
So the overall dock is, the overall structure that's from high water seaward is less than 100 feet, right? That's the pier
Correct.
line. Yep,
Yeah.
okay.
Oh, absolutely.
Then I'm fine with it then.
You're
Right,
out to
me-
minus 7.9 feet.
Well, it drops off really, you can see where
Right.
the 6
Right.
foot is right under it drops off,
0.5, yes.
Yeah,
Yep.
it goes from 1.5 here to 6 feet.
Yeah, okay. All right, that's good. There's not a lot of
Okay.
houses there. This is not gonna be too crowded.
Nope,
You got enough width.
yep, it looks
Okay.
fine.
Sounds good.
You could advance that,
All right.
and
Thank you.
that concludes my permits for today. Trustee Warner's up.
Sorry about that.
Ed, do you have an agenda?
No, I do not.
Pulling it up here.
This,
It's all right. We'll put it up for you. You got Florence Goldsmith coming up.
Yes, I had a conversation with the property owner, then I had a conversation with the consultant. James and I looked at it. This area has a couple short docks to the east of it, similar to what they're proposing here. There's very little water, so it would allow them to get access for a kayak and a paddleboard, float a boat up, a small boat at high tide, and then mooring could be placed offshore at a future time. It's in the mouth of Wells's Creek. The proposed dock is nowhere near the channel. It does have a ladder at the end for people to get up and down, the ladder up to the bulkhead into the residence. So if anybody has any questions, I can hopefully answer them for you, because it's a pretty basic, simple proposal for this structure.
Yeah, I think that we based on the conversation with the owner and Ed, I think we've matched exactly what was required, and the homeowners are happy just to have the access, and then they'll apply for a mooring.
So if we're good with it, can we advance it? Or does anybody have any questions?
nope.
I'm fine with it, Ed.
Sounds
Okay.
good.
Well, let's advance it then, okay?
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
8 rolling.
Come here.
This property is between Shinnecock Road and Bay Avenue East. Roland Court, we had given a dock for this property. The applicant and consultant basically let it lapse because they were in conversations with the Army Corps to basically get a permit from them. They were held up for a long time. So basically it's a 4 by 135 foot catwalk supported by 8-inch diagonal pilings with a 4 by 5 step up and over the catwalk for pedestrian pass and repass, a ladder at the end of the dock, all open grate, all wood to be untreated. And we did approve this back in, I believe, 2018, 2019, but they never put it in. So they're coming back to us to reapply for the same structure that we had approved previously. It is inshore the eelgrass beds. There are eelgrass beds up and down that whole entire coastline. The dock at 135 feet is situated just inside of the eelgrass beds. If James, you can actually see the eelgrass beds that are in the area. They're offshore about 300 to 500 feet, and they go seaward along that beach.
And there's no pier line along here, right?
There's a 135-foot pier line. The dock just to the north of it, I believe it's Joe Scro's property. That was a similar dock that we approved, and this dock would be actually the same length and same in the same area as far as depth of water and inside the eelgrass beds.
It's the pier line's from mean high water, not from where they're
right.
So it's not, it's 135 foot catwalk, but that's landward from mean high water. So
yeah,
if you reduce it down, it meets the Blue Book regulations.
Got it.
And it's through flow decking, so it's a couple of the docks along there. We asked to have the through flow decking, a light penetrate decking, and they're the only docks through Sandy and Irene that did not pull up and break apart. So I think it's a good project. James, does it meet the Blue Book regulations that we need?
Yeah, and you guys had approved it in the past, so I don't see a problem with it.
Well, if everybody's okay, I'd like to move it forward.
Okay.
I'm fine with it, Ed.
All right, advance that. Is I think that this is Daphne's Surfside Environmental. Is she on?
Is Daphne on?
She's coming.
Isn't this Donna Myers' property?
No, it's Surfside is Daphne.
Okay. There we go.
Yeah, so we went over this, Ed. We asked for
yep,
clearing up the bulkhead height and then adding a buffer, which she did. So
yep,
she could talk about it when she gets on. But
she's on.
Okay.
I'm here.
Hi, Daphne. It's you're at the meeting now, so we're discussing 17 Canal Way.
Yeah.
And, would you like to give us an update on what you have done as far as what we asked you from the last discussion?
Well, this is actually the first discussion I'm having. I just received an email from James asking for a revised application to
Yes.
reflect the areas landward of the bulkhead.
Correct.
So there's an extensive bulkhead here. Part of it's on Smith's Creek, the others on a canal. We would like to replace the entire thing, raising it 1 foot above where it is right now, to match the existing landowner to the south of this. Oh, those are upside down. There is some scouring that's occurring on the Smith Creek side. So we feel that with the raising of the bulkhead and backfilling it, and then planting those areas on that side with supplemental beach grass will alleviate that situation. The canal side, in the photos here, you can see, this one's good. This is the area that we're proposing to dredge to -3 feet above sea level because of all of that sedimentation that's occurring. So we would like to take that out so it opens up his usable area, and also, keeps his boats out of the canal, doesn't impair the navigability of that entry into the canal. The existing dock that's there, we would like to replace in place. Basically, we're going to shift it down. I think it's about 10 feet that we're shifting it so that it is at a 10-foot setback from the neighboring property to the north.
Okay.
Which will require a slight extension of the wood walkway that is landward of the bulkhead. You can kind of see there's a little white line there where the existing walkway ends. So we're basically adding 10 feet to it to accommodate the relocation of the dock.
And the material that's going to be dredged is going to be put behind the bulkhead?
Yeah, the majority of it would be utilized back into the property. If there is extra, it will be carted off site to an upland source, probably to a landfill. So it would be a vinyl bulkhead. We're proposing the plantings on the creek side. My client would like to keep the area on the canal side more open without plantings if possible, to do either sand or stone or a combination of the two, if the board's amenable to that, just to allow him continued access without vegetation, because that would be the usable portion for his boats.
How about some vegetation on the southerly end of the project in the lagoon where, it's far away from the dock? I mean, it looks like I'm trying to look at it. He's got almost 180 feet of, bulkheaded waterfront there.
Mm-hmm.
Can he put a small area on the south end of the bulkhead project to vegetate it with some grasses? And that would.
You see where the shading changes. There's the existing vegetation line. So that polka dot, the more wide dots, let's call it, are where there's existing vegetation that he would maintain and or supplement as needed. So that whole corner is already or would be supplementally vegetated.
Okay. Yeah, and it's good to have some vegetation there, especially beach grasses. It does, if you get a high tide and a storm, it will cut down on the wave energy and damage to his property up in the lagoon further.
Yeah. The photos if you can find the photos that show that existing vegetation, it is very dense. So it's well established.
Yeah.
Down
on the Smiths Creek side, I was down there. It's very well established.
Hey, Ed.
Yes.
That should go farther around the corner because that way, when you get a storm there, he's not going to keep a boat at the corner anyway. It should go, probably 20 feet, 30 feet down from the corner.
Well, that's what we just asked her. How far does, I'm trying to,
I think it looks like 10 feet.
probably more than 10. Let me see if I can scale it quickly. Where's the scale? 1 to 40.
Yeah, he's not, yeah, Billy's right. He's not gonna be able to keep a boat there because it's just too rough of an area and
Yeah,
it's very,
it's speed up.
It's
Yeah, it gets
about,
speed up pretty quick there.
it's about 25 feet right now.
well, you hear that, Bill?
Okay.
So
We should put
that's
on,
about,
put a plan, put it in the permit that it has to be at least 25 or 30 feet so future owners can't cut it back.
yeah. And it's important that they maintain it because it will protect his property during a high tide surge there.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
plus
and
keep the
there's no
geese off.
issue. There's no issue with maintaining the existing vegetation. He just doesn't really want to expand it if he doesn't have to.
I would be a proponent of expanding it because that's 180 feet of bulkhead on the inside of the creek, and 20 or 25 feet of that is barely 10%. If we could get upwards of 20 or 30% by extending that vegetation a bit to the north, it would not make a considerable dent in his grass that comes right up to the bulkhead, and it would make a considerable difference in the amount of runoff that would be going into the creek that is already an impaired water body. And anything that could be done to reduce the runoff would be very helpful.
Well, it's a bulkheaded property. It's not, it's that whole place is bulkheaded, right?
Yeah.
So
Daphne, did you have a conversation with the property owner about this? What we're talking about pushing the buffer northerly, maybe 40 more feet? Or is this something you discussed or haven't discussed?
40 more feet?
Yeah, because I mean, if you double what is there, you said it's 25. If
Yeah.
you double, it'll be 50. And it's really, only a very small portion of that. It's not that would be like less than a third of that property. And
he's got an extensive buffer on the Smiths Creek side of this property, right?
Yes, he does. He has a very nice buffer. So
I would like, basically a 25-foot buffer across that whole Smith Creek side of the property.
I mean, and then he's got a 10-foot buffer, or stone or sand. Can he add some, Cape American beach grass there for another 25 feet? And then that would be a really good project. I mean, I'm looking at this, this corner that juts out into the canal and to Smiths Creek, and on a southwesterly wind and a high tide, that place is going to get overwashed, and that buffer will protect his property and reduce the amount of runoff that comes back into the lagoon there.
Well, I'd have to talk to him about that. So you're looking for an additional 25?
Yes.
Do you have pictures of that? Do you have current pictures of that corner, Daphne?
Yeah, that should.
It's just grass and it's grass, and you can see where the bulkhead starting to fail.
It's photo number 2 kind of shows just landward of that vegetated.
So that's so right there, that's the canal, right? And then we're looking west.
Yep.
We're looking west, right?
Yes.
Yes.
But we're looking west. Okay.
Hey, Scott, you know where that is. That's right where you grew up.
Exactly. I know exactly where this is.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think we're asking I don't think it's going to take away any of the usage of the property. He's got a nice dock there. He's going to have 125 feet of waterfront that he can access with a boat. So I think he's, by us just asking for this, I don't think it's a big ask, really.
Bill hit the nail right on the head. That's exactly where I grew up. Okay. And you do get, if you went over there, Irene, Sandy, with heavy storm surge, it does get overwashed there pretty good.
You see the guy across the street, the creek?
Yes.
I know that house very well, and that saves saves his house when there's a big storm.
Right. And it,
I
and
know
it
that
cuts
house
down.
too.
Yeah, that's what I'm kind of envisioning for the next.
I mean, he
25
would be
feet.
doing himself if he could incorporate some more deep-rooted native vegetation up along the front on that corner, it would help him out. It would help him out, you know. I get
And
that
the
he wants to
environment.
use the bulkhead for some boats and whatnot. It will help him out and it will help the environment out. He does have a nice buffer across the Smiths Creek side. But if you can incorporate a little something more in there, it would work to his advantage when you do get a big storm.
Yes, and the environment's advantage too, because it's going to cut down on the runoff that comes in there and the nutrients.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, see if you can work with your client Daphne to get something that's going to work for, you know, look good and work for everybody.
Okay, well, yeah, I should probably bring this to him before I say yes or no.
Yes.
To make sure that he's on board with it.
If you want me to meet down there with him and I'm available, I'll definitely meet on there on site and, you know, we can have a discussion. I like educating the people that have waterfront property and, you know, the water quality in here is impaired, it's polluted, and it's, you know, we're trying to push back this negative impacts from the upland parcels here.
I mean, look, we don't want to be, you know, going overboard with our Blue Book regulations, you know, once people meet the test, but the reality is that corner there does take a bit of a beating over there. Yep. And it would probably, if you invest in that kind of money into redoing that bulkhead and whatnot, you know, it would probably be good to do the best that you can at making sure that when you do have an overtopping event, that the vulnerable spot does have the deep-rooted native vegetation, because that will help him out. So I don't think the board wants to, you know, get overburdening or overkill you. I think we just want to try and get a little something that's going to make sense for everybody, work for everybody here. So, I mean, it probably, you know, warrants a good discussion.
Yep.
Okay, that's understood. I can
You know,
certainly.
and like Eddie said, I mean, Bill said, you know, I'm familiar with the area real well, and I'd be more than happy to help you out as well, Daphne, if you need help having a conversation. Okay.
All right.
All right. Thank you, Daphne.
Thanks, Daphne.
So we're gonna put that on hold.
Yes, please put it on hold.
I'll get in touch with James when I have an answer.
Sounds good.
Okay.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Daph.
What? Come here.
Is Gina Rigdon on this? DTA Offshores?
Yeah.
Ed, can you see that?
Yes, I got to shrink it down a little bit. Yes, I was down on the property the other day. Gina?
Hi, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi. So this is 17 Windermere Close in Hampton Bays. It is 177-foot frontage, proposing a 20-foot return on the northern side. The southern side would hook into a new bulkhead actually under construction at 15 Windermere.
Yep.
It is same height as existing, match the existing height of the new bulkhead to the south. Recently, in due diligence, I emailed James a revised set of plans and a revised cover where the concrete pad is. I included obviously the verbiage of removing the broken concrete pad. And then in the area right where the dock is, proposing a very small and modest 4 by 20 untreated boardwalk in the same area, just to get on and off the dock safely.
Yep.
You know, load coolers, that kind of thing. Also, note that we added not just a beach grass buffer, but switchgrass as well, 3 foot on center.
What's the benefit of that, Agina? Adding the
The
switchgrass?
switchgrass, there's some because of the overspray. There's a little bit of like Phragmites and stuff on the land. And so we try to limit the fill and make it as environmentally friendly, you know, as possible. So, you know, and like I said, in due diligence, I added a high marsh species that's typically found in the area to add some decorative value. The rest of the landscape will be eventually planned by Brian Mahoney, who is the landscape architect. I just don't have the plans for the entire property right now, but it will be beautifully landscaped when it's finished.
Yeah, there's a lot of, I guess you'd say, high wetlands in behind these bulkheads in places on some of the properties. I was down there this past winter and it was frozen, and there's a walkway that runs from one of the houses across some wetlands back to a high spot by the bulkhead on the creek. So, you know, it would be a good area to add these other you know, species of natural plants in there because they would do very well.
Right. And back risk grows a little too high. So I added switchgrass instead, just for due diligence and to be thorough.
Appreciate you not raising the bulkhead to raising the height of the bulkhead in addition to using a few different materials in the buffer.
Yeah, not necessary there. The proposed house is set, you know, far enough away and to match the other bulkhead and to be consistent with the new bulkhead that was just approved at 15. You know, I am obligated to keep the same height.
Yeah, the bulkhead that was put there in the 60s.
Yeah.
You know, it's an old bulkhead. Raising it, and I did have a conversation with the contractor down there because he was asking about raising it and then amending the permit. And my thought is, if you raised it, you're actually going to capture any overwash water and it's going to just puddle there and pond there. So, you know, in this situation with these large properties, and flat properties, keeping the bulkhead at this height allows the water to run back through the bulkhead and back into the bay on a slow, you know, a slower rate. The other way, it would just pond closer to the house and be problematic.
Right. And there's a nice gradual grade there. So there's plenty of room, you know, for it to be pre-absorbed after any storm events.
This is a new house?
There's a planned new house that I have a building permit for that has not started construction yet. And that the new house will be FEMA code compliant as well and raised pilings. So to raise it is just simply unnecessary.
There's an extensive marsh system with a lot of Phragmites there.
Right. There's a lot of Phragmites, which of course are native, not native and invasive, but there may be something hidden in there, you know, and I'd like to restore it properly.
Okay, James, this is all compliant to what we need as far as our Blue Book goes?
Yes. And yes, I received yesterday her updated plans and cover sheet. Unfortunately, we did not get it onto here, so it doesn't reflect on here, the new one. But we did receive it and looks good.
Do we need to discuss anything that's on the new plans that we received, or have we covered everything?
No, like she said, she added the 4x20 foot wood, you know, untreated walkway deck right here where the concrete slab used to be.
Yep.
And it's really only like not even half of that width.
Yeah.
You know, if you scale it out. So it's like maybe a third, not even as big as that concrete slab was.
It's something that's consistent with you,
Yeah.
with what you guys have asked for in the past.
Yeah.
And the 10-foot buffer all along with switchgrass and beach grass is a great buffer. So,
All right.
I'd recommend it.
If no one has any concerns or more questions, can we move it along then?
I'm fine with it.
Yes.
All right.
Thank you, Agina.
Thank
Yeah,
you,
I
Jim.
guess I'll stay on for the next one and the next
Yes.
one. Okay. So now we have a new Billy. You're up.
Go ahead, Gina.
Okay. So now we have Christopher Faulkner. This is located at 26 Land's End Lane, which Billy, you're very familiar with. We're all very familiar with. And it's a dock on the man-made dug canal side of the property, which is on the northern side of Land's End Lane, which is the vacant parcel. But it's combined with this. I don't know the particulars of how this right of way got through here. It's very complicated. But they sort of own part of the road and land across the street, which is very typical for that particular road. So basically, we're asking to reconstruct the bulkhead and then raise it to match Eric Storch's, which is to the west. So if you're looking at the water, if you're looking at the Duck Canal, it's to the left. And to match the height of that, and just to basically mimic exactly what was approved under the permit to the west. And then a small untreated walk and a walkway to get there. And of course, the mandated, I did more than 10-foot non-turf buffer. In that area, there's some scrub pine, there's some baccharis, there's 1 or 2 red cedars. So basically what we're doing is exactly what Eric did on his side. We're going to dig them, try to save them, stockpile them, do the vinyl bulkhead, and then actually replant the existing species, whatever, and add beach grass to it as well. So we're trying to basically save what's there. And if something's not savable, like say for instance, it's too large or the root system's too big, then it will be replaced with like kind species because the owner was very particular with specifying that. As I am in all of those areas. I love the scrub pine. I love that look. And I think like mixing up the vegetation over there, it adds, a lot of character. And it absorbs a lot of water in case we have some, tidal overflow over the bulkhead, which is normally unlikely in the man-made section on that side, but it could happen. And the bulkhead is not in good shape. There's a lot of sinkholes behind it. And it does need to be replaced. It's that old CCA. It's been there since, the 50s, whenever this man-made dug canal was created. And, little by little, one by one, we're replacing each one.
Sean, this may be a question for you, but Gina, is this property held singly and separately from the property across the street?
It's actually all on one property. The deed description references the vacant parcel across the street as part of this parcel.
Then so we have a problem when that happens is because you're not allowed to have one dock per property. And now you have a dock on the bay side and you want a dock on the canal side.
Yeah,
so you have to get rid of one, one dock, unless the board thinks otherwise.
Well, I did talk to the owner about it, and his boating that's actually on Cold Spring is sort of, he's very conscious of all the oyster farming and the oyster cultivating on the Cold Spring side.
His crafts right in front of him with all this
Yeah.
stuff.
he doesn't really use that dock. That's why he wants the other one, because he doesn't want to interfere with the oyster cultivation. So it's much safer and less disturbance to use the canal side for the boats. So
less wave action for his boat there too, and if there's a
yeah,
storm. But so
exactly.
is he going to just remove that that dock
What
and just
I
leave
had,
access to the water?
yeah, what I had said to him is I said, well, what about you know, a jet ski? What if you leave, you know, the one that, because we just got permits for that one that's on Cold Spring. Leave that side for just jet skis, and then the other side, the man-made Doug Canal side, for his boat. So I would have to ask him. I told him that this might come up and advised him as such. And he, you know, that he said, if they say that, then, you know, he understands, but he would still like to use the dock on the Cold Spring Pond side for his jet ski. So I would do, you know, I could do a little jet ski, you know, lift or easy, like a jet ski float, maybe on the Cold Spring side instead of that 6x20 float. It's brand new too. It's a shame. I'll have to see what he wants to do, how he wants to do this.
He probably can move that float to inside the canal.
He was being very conscious because the brand new float is 6 feet wide. He didn't really want, that's why the new one is only 4 feet wide.
Yeah.
He was very conscious about, you know, the boats going back and forth, and he didn't want to interfere with them.
Hey, James, can you go back to the overhead shot of that canal? So the only other dock on that canal is way up there.
Well, no, Eric has one to the west. It just doesn't happen to be in right
but
now.
it's not, what I'm saying, it's not right across the way from him. That
Yeah,
would be
there's no docks on the other side of no, there's no docks, no. So it's really, it's up to the board. It's the board's call. You know, I mean, I can certainly talk to him. I told him that this might come up.
And you were right.
What does the language read in the blue book? It just states, from what I recall, it states there can't be 2 docks on the property. It doesn't make any reference, though, to the fact when they're 2 different waterfronts, because basically it's like 2 front yards.
It's almost like it's 2 lots, but it's not. But it's a gray area.
What does this survey? What does this survey show? It shows. It looks like it's just to the road, and then the other piece is a separate parcel, isn't it?
It's actually technically a separate parcel that is a description of the meets and bounds attached to the original deed. So it's almost like it's an easement parcel, is what it is.
But it's one tax map number.
Yeah.
Right? Or is it 2?
It is. It's 1. The other vacant parcel doesn't actually have a tax map number. It's only referenced in an easement to the original parcel. So technically it is 2 separate parcels because it's on the other side of the road. The other one doesn't have an identification or a separate tax map. So yeah, it's a super gray area.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's a bit of an anomaly.
It is. It is. So, I mean, I can discuss it with Mr. Faulkner. But if the board, you know, would entertain putting
what does the title insurance say on it?
I would have to go back. I would have
survey
with
the title insurance, they'll say exactly what it is.
It's part of the original. It's part of the original subdivision. I have it somewhere on my email because I actually had to send it to the surveyor because he couldn't find it.
Well, I would say that his parcel has a meets and bounds description on it. Probably Land's End Lane has a paved portion and a unimproved portion, and it's just everybody kind of like just says, "Oh, that's my side."
Yeah,
you know, it doesn't have to be spelled out anywhere.
No, right. And eventually, through the years, they included it in the title description as an easement parcel. And like I said, I would have to pull it up. It was part of the subdivision. And
So
it's really old.
if it's an easement, how can he put a bulkhead on it?
It's been there since
Yeah,
before.
I'm just saying,
the
how can
easement
he,
was
we
in
can,
there.
you know, if he doesn't actually own the property, how can he, you know?
No, it would be a
He
parcel.
does own it because it's part of
Yeah.
the deed.
With an easement through it.
Okay,
Yeah, so like,
for the road.
right. So you have an easement for the road and then the
Okay,
parcel
I thought you
across
said
the street.
I thought you meant where the easement, where the dock was.
No, yeah, no, he actually does own it. It's part of the deed. It's just, like I said, it's an easement description. So like if you have a right of way going across someone else's yard, you own
Yeah.
that right of way as an easement. It is technically separate from your property. It could be across the street of the ocean, to the water, to the whatever, but you own it on it, and it's part of your deed, but only as a described parcel. But these two lots are technically not joined.
Right.
So there is one vacant lot that they own, and this is typical on this road. This happened.
Right.
This happens, you know, down on the end too. There's a dock across the street on the vacant parcel itself, but the house is on Peconic Bay. But they own, you know, it's weird. I can't even, like I said, it was back from the original subdivision, and now it's part of the deed for a described parcel. So it's a
Right.
gray area.
You
Let's
mean
get-
separate.
If you can get that straightened out, okay?
Yeah.
It's gonna come up at some other point too, so. let's
Oh,
leave it.
I'm sure it is. And Sean, you know, may want to weigh in on this. It doesn't, you know, the blue book doesn't specifically say it, you know, it says one dock per lot, but it doesn't reference if, you know, an owner has multiple lots, or say, for instance, an easement on a separate vacant parcel that you're still allowed to have a dock on.
It's
Technically,
a private
but-
road, right, Gina?
What?
That's like the same thing up in West Hampton, Eric, you know, where all those right of ways and easements goes through people's properties.
Yeah,
Where the easement people want to dock. So that's what we have to,
The reciprocal easements.
yeah.
Right.
Is this a private road in front of this house? Because it may not be an easement. He may own the road.
Right.
He does actually own part of the road, and that's
Right.
you know,
So it
yeah,
is a
he
separate
owns
lot.
part of the road and the vacant land across the street. Yes.
So it's two separate lots.
Yeah, it is.
It's not really though, because it's one tax map.
Right. It's
Yeah,
one lot.
the
Well,
road goes over.
tax maps are notoriously inaccurate.
We have to look at the deed to really determine it.
Yes.
Because I'm just looking at the property next door, just to the west of this, and I'm trying to determine, I see that there's a bulkhead and a dock on the canal, but is there also a dock?
Well, Gina, do you have the deed
No.
available?
I do have it. I'm gonna have to pull it out and send it to you.
Yeah, if you could forward it to us. Sometimes they have CNRs on the property where it's a permitted historical use. So we
No,
really
it
see
wouldn't
if
have
exists.
that. That's not on there.
Okay.
But I will pull it out. And then I'm also gonna find that subdivision from the original parcel, you know,
Right.
which is really, really old and hard to read. But I'm gonna find it for you, and I'm gonna send it along. Okay.
Good.
And then I'll talk to Chris about, you know, do you want to convert the one on Cold Spring, just move the flow over and put an easy dock over there and just make that for the jet ski instead, which was our backup plan. So, but it is two separate parcels. So Shauna's going to be kind of, after you review the deed and review the original subdivision documents that I'm going to dig out for you, then you can make a determination.
Okay.
Okay. So
Very
I
good.
guess hold it over and let me talk to the owner, and I'm going to get you that stuff.
Okay.
Very good.
Okay.
Thanks, Agina.
Yeah, no problem.
Thanks, Gina.
Staying
Ready for your
on
next
for the
one?
next one.
Go
You know,
ahead.
I'm like candid and honest with everybody. All right, so we're up Kearney, same neighborhood, same situation.
No, really?
No, really, I have them like all. I did Eric Storage, I did. So we're a couple doors down. We're on the other side of Chris Parker.
But he doesn't have a dock.
No, he doesn't have a dock. We're just doing the bulkhead right now. Eventually, I will probably come back for a dock for the man-made canal side, but he doesn't have a dock on Cold Spring Pond. So, and he's not interested in one. So we won't have this situation. So, but it is the same thing. There's another parcel across the street that has a bulkhead on it that needs to be replaced. This bulkhead's actually in worse shape. So the bulkhead on the Cold Spring side, we're just going to do them all at once. We're going to match Proctor, and that was 10 inches higher on the Cold Spring side. And it's really important on this side. Now that's the other side. That's the Dug Canal side. As you can see, those timbers are in not great shape. There's some sinkholes. They're like ankle breakers. I call them like ankle breakers. I've actually fallen into them on occasion. So on the Cold Spring side, I would like to go up to match Proctor's bulkhead. That's a brand new vinyl that I did a couple of years ago. And I measured it.
I would be fine with that, as long as he plants some grass, because
yeah.
that where that is, you get as Ed knows, because he's been in there a lot too.
It washes over all the time.
Yeah, big time.
It's almost the rack line is just about up to the house. The high water mark literally goes up to the house.
Yeah.
So he needs to raise it there. And the beach
And
grass
plant,
buffer.
a lot of grass.
Yeah. So look at the picture on the bottom. That's Chris's that we did a couple of years ago, and see all of his beach grass and how he has no erosion. Yeah. So we need to raise it and put the beach grass, and then that should do the trick.
Mm-hmm.
Gina, is that a capping on the bulkhead? Like how wide is it on the neighboring?
That's the neighbor's
property?
bulkhead, and that's an 18-inch cap. That's untreated.
Okay.
Sometimes those caps, they serve like little mini safety boardwalks. So, it is what it is. It's elegant.
I think the trustee regulations allow a 24-inch cap, I believe.
Yeah,
right?
they do, and that one's only 18. So, but it's elegant. It does the trick. It's less than 4 feet. That's the neighbors.
Actually, it's pretty safe.
Yeah, it looks good. It's very safe to walk around. So we're gonna do probably something similar, but just along that frontage.
And there's a great buffer there as well. So hopefully.
Yeah, we're gonna do a buffer.
Okay.
So I would like to advance this one. The board feels fine with it.
That sounds good.
I'm good with it, Bill.
All right, thank you.
It's all good.
Okay.
Thank you. I'll get back to you on that other one.
All right, thanks.
I'm gonna stay on for Cliff like later and just to see what's going on.
That's your business. You could do that.
Yeah.
I'll be
Thank
here for
you.
that too.
I'm just gonna observe. I'll see you soon. Bye.
Okay.
Is land use on, Charlie?
I certainly am.
All right, go ahead. You got the floor, young man.
Thank you. This John Healy and his wife bought this property and are in the midst of building a new house on it. Part of that approval through the Conservation Board, which you can see on our plans, is a very large buffer area. And there was a trail actually that went down to the existing dock through that buffer area that Marty wanted to have abandoned. That said, the existing dock was first approved in 1975. It consisted of a 75-foot length of all float docks per trustee permit. When Mr. Healy bought the property, and the dock is, I don't actually know when it was put in, the existing dock that's there now is 95 feet long. It contains a fixed dock and a float, 2 floats actually, no open grate. the first permit that was issued in 1975 covered about 516 square feet, no open grate. The existing dock that is there now covers about 424 square feet, which is about 216 square feet of floats. And what we're proposing, because we wanted to, first of all, make sure he had enough water there, which he does at the existing. At the 75-foot length, he would not. But we wanted to elevate the walkway, put in a new walkway that would meet the trustees' requirements. Also, abandon the pathway that Marty wanted abandoned. Get rid of an existing wood walkway that goes from the pathway to the existing dock along the shoreline. Remove that and connect through another separate open grate along the shoreline to connect to the bulkhead. So out of his house, he would come down to the shoreline at the bulkhead, walk to the right out to where the existing dock is, and go out on the dock. It would just have one float instead of the two floats that are there now. And that float would be chocked. It's about 2 feet, 1.9 feet of water at that location. And what we were trying to do is lessen the impacts to the wetland vegetation there, and also provide for that undisturbed, naturally vegetated buffer area that Marty had wanted as part of the house approval. So that's basically it. What we're doing is actually reducing the square footage. Like I say, the original permit was 516 square feet. We're now down to 472 square feet of total dock structure from what was approved in 1975.
What was the water depth at the float again?
1.9.
I really don't like chocks. Because I see that, people use them for the first couple of years. Then when they put the float back, the dock builders kind of like cut them off. Only chocks I really like is when the bar goes from pole to pole. So the float actually has to sit on the beam going across, so it stays there all the time.
Well, we could do that. That's not a problem. I agree with you, but we'd like to keep it off the bottom. So we could put a steel rod between the poles.
So it sits on that.
Sure, no problem. No problem. And actually, it's a good idea. So.
And will this float come out in the winter? Is it ice? It ices in there, right?
And the ramp. And then, like I say, I think this is going to reduce the impacts to the existing marsh that's there. We certainly have less dock than originally was approved by the trustees. We're in the same amount of water that he, is there now. It's all going to be open grate. None of the previous docks were open grate. The first one was all floats, which shows how times have changed. And what's there now is a solid decking on the pier, which we're going to turn into open grate. So we'll get vegetation.
What are the dates, James? You have to have the floats out by.
I believe it's November to April or something like that. I don't know.
I know this person. He uses his boat really early. He's like me. He uses it very late. He uses it for duck hunting too. We might want to extend that if we could, give him an extra couple of weeks on either end.
My boat went in today, Bill.
I know. Mine's going in a few more days.
All right. What I would suggest is having the application cover sheet updated to the dates that the applicant wants.
Okay.
That way it'll go right onto the permit. Because our standard language is going to have the set dates of what the trustees have, but
is the other trustees fine with that?
Well, one of the dates that I remember, Billy, is the December 1st until April 1st.
I thought
it was. I didn't know. Then when
that's what I remember putting on some docks, which gives you a long boating season.
Oh yeah, it does.
That's
That would be
reasonable.
fine, Ed, you know.
Yeah, December, you're right, December 1st to April 1st.
April 1st.
So is that good? That's good for you, Bill, or?
That's good for me, yes.
Okay.
If as long as he's happy with that, you ask John about it.
Yeah, I'll ask John, but I think that'll be fine.
Yeah, because I know he uses for duck hunt and stuff like that.
Sure.
Okay.
All right, cool.
Okay.
So that's that, then, yeah?
Yeah.
Thanks, Chuck.
Okay,
Thanks,
thank you all. You have a great evening.
Hey, Ann.
Okay, Charles, is Mr. Lester here representing, Brian Lester, representing 65 Cliff LLC, 65 Cliff Drive in Sag Harbor? Is Mr. Lester here, Charles? Okay. This is a low sill. Oh, great. Thanks, Charles. This is a low sill bulkhead proposed in the location in which a previous bulkhead was removed. And the one thing that we would like to specify is that this bulkhead would be approximately 75 feet in length across, and that there would be a buffer installed landward of the bulkhead. This has been, some of that information was noted on the plans, but not on the cover sheet, and we would just have to correct that.
Right. Now, a significant amount of controversy has surrounded this particular permit and situation. So I would suggest that I sponsor a walk-on resolution for the official meeting that we have following to schedule a public hearing on this particular issue, since there's a lot of public controversy on it.
Okay.
I agree with you, President
I
Schultz.
agree with you. Because there's a lot of questions we want to ask the application about, you know, the time frame he's going to do it and the dredging and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. And the fill that comes, that is the clean sand, is going to be leveled behind the bulkhead. Is going to we want to talk about where that's going to come from. Okay.
Can we set a public hearing?
Yes, official meeting coming up next, and if we do it today, it can get in for the next regularly scheduled meeting. If we do it on Mondays, on the next Monday meeting we have, it's going to push it forward, you know, a lot. So if we do it now, then we can get it in the pipeline and have the
okay
on the 5th.
Okay.
Where's the cover sheet for this?
I emailed.
Oh, hey, Brian.
Hi, sorry, but I emailed one this afternoon over, a revised one over this afternoon. It's probably too close to the meeting start, but
Yeah.
you should have that.
Okay.
Hey, Jane.
Yeah.
When you get that new cover sheet, can you email out to each trustee, please?
Sure.
All the information on this, so we can review before the public hearing.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Okay.
Is there any other questions? I got the time frame and the dredging and the fill clean sand. Is there any other questions you want me prepared to answer during that hearing that I can try to scope out between now and then?
That's what I can see. It pretty much is evidence of what, you know, you've submitted what we, you know, basically asked for.
Okay.
This bulkhead was the bulkhead that was removed was prior permitted by the trustees. Is that correct?
Yes, that's what I understand.
Yes. We'll pull up the original bulkhead plans. I'll have James put that on and we'll have that ready for the public hearing of when it was issued, and some aerial photos showing historical pictures of the canal, areas that we have. Okay, so we'll have.
Is there more to this? More details relative to this project, because it's kind of not much listed on this on the sheet. Are we going to get more details at the public hearing?
I got people asking questions too. Just so you know.
Well, we generally don't.
Well,
we
there's
generally
no
don't do
questions
that
in
at
a work session.
Hey, hold on.
Questions are for public.
Hold on a sec. Hold on, everybody. First of all, this is a work session. This is not a situation for the public to make comments on trustee meeting. Hence the reason why we're scheduling a public hearing on this issue. That's the proper context for the way we do things. Okay, right now we're accepting an application. We're deeming it complete. There'll be more information to follow that we're going to ask the applicant to bring in. If everything is satisfied, we'll schedule a public hearing at in a little while today. It'll be on for the 5th of May, and the public will have April, and the public will have adequate time to make all the comments that they want. But it's not the proper procedure this is not the format for public comment at this point, as with any other boards, the way they do business too.
Thank you.
I would concur.
Okay. So are we ready to move this matter forward for discussion and to schedule a public hearing at the special meeting that we have in a little while?
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Okay.
So just for work session process, am I putting it on hold and then you guys are going to schedule it for public hearing? Okay.
That's what you're doing.
Great. All right.
We're getting this, the reason for this discussion on this matter is to get it in the pipeline.
Perfect.
Okay. So, next item, 14 Cove Lane.
Yep. So 14 Cove Road this is an application to construct a 4 by 27 foot catwalk, 3 by 12
come
foot.
in on this?
This would be InterScience.
So it says First Coastal on it.
I'm sorry. First Coastal, Billy Mack.
Billy Mack? Okay.
Yes.
Yep. Billy, do you want to, when
He's
you
coming.
get here, Billy, if you want to talk about it, that'd be great. But it's basically a ramp, a catwalk and a float with no treated wood and open grate.
I am.
Hey, Billy.
Hi, everybody. How's everybody doing?
Okay.
Doing okay. You want to talk about your project?
Yeah, so this is an old house in Upper Sag Harbor Cove. And we're looking to just extend off this deck and staircase a walkway catwalk dock with a float and ramp. And it looks like we meet the criteria and we're still inside the pier line. Everything would be non-treated, through flow decking and seasonal ramp and float.
It looked okay to me. Billy, you're kind of lucky because there's a little deep channel here that comes in close to shore.
Yeah.
So you're able to get, that dock doesn't have to be super long. It's a really steep bluff that's right above it, heavily vegetated, and some good marsh down at the water line.
Yeah, it's well vegetated. I think the owner's going to reconstruct the house at one point, and I believe he's going to be undertaking some revegetation with additional native planting as part of that application.
Does anyone have any questions about this? The one thing that's come up in prior applications within Sag Harbor Cove is the pier line, and this property is an exception to that, so happily. So I would say if there are no questions, that I would like to move this forward.
I'm good with it.
Everybody else, you're okay?
Yep, fine.
Okay, good. James, if we could please move this forward then. Thank you, Billy.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Ann. Thanks, everybody else.
That's the last application.
Okay, before we close, I'd like to add this. I've been advised by counsel that the correct procedure on this Cliff Drive situation, that instead of hold, we move it to advance to public hearing instead of hold, because then it wouldn't be applicable to discuss it at the public. Okay.
We'll advance it then.
Oh,
okay.
Wait, there's just one thing. Susanna Herman was here. Is she still here? She said, I'm here for, she put a note in the chat. She's here for Aquadina.
Hers was advanced.
Okay.
So she's still on. It was advanced. You guys reviewed it. It was met Blue Book, and it was advanced. So.
Okay. So there you go, Susanna.
So you guys are gonna go into the
We're
special.
gonna, if there's nobody has any real big comments on here, like to move things along and go into the special meeting. Okay, so I'd like to close the work session agenda for the trustees. Okay, I'll make the motion.
Second.